Basil. Basil is a soft-stemmed annual herb native to tropical South Asia and Africa, producing broad, glossy leaves on upright stems with a warm, clove-like fragrance that intensifies in summer heat. Cultivated for over 5,000 years, it spread through the Middle East and into the Mediterranean, where it became central to Italian, Greek, and Thai cooking. Basil requires full sun of at least 6 to 8 hours daily, consistently moist but well drained soil, and temperatures above 15 degrees Celsius. Frost kills it outright, and it must be replanted each season in temperate climates. It responds well to occasional nitrogen rich fertilizer, which supports its dense leafy growth. The volatile compounds linalool and eugenol, released continuously from its leaves, interfere with the ability of aphids, thrips, whiteflies, tomato hornworms, and mosquitoes to locate host plants by scent. When allowed to flower, basil draws honeybees, bumblebees, and hoverflies, supporting pollination across surrounding crops. As its leaf litter decomposes, it returns potassium and phosphorus to the topsoil. It performs well alongside tomatoes, peppers, and oregano. Sage and common rue release root compounds that suppress basil's development and should not be planted nearby. Regular pinching prevents early flowering, which turns the leaves bitter and accelerates the plant's decline. Rosemary. Rosemary is a woody evergreen perennial shrub native to the rocky Mediterranean coastline, where it grows wild on cliff edges and hillsides above the sea. Its name comes from the Latin ros marinus, meaning dew of the sea. It produces narrow, needle-like leaves on woody stems and small pale blue flowers across an extended blooming season. Rosemary requires full sun of at least 6 to 8 hours and very well drained, slightly alkaline soil. Once established, it is highly drought tolerant and needs watering only every 1 to 2 weeks. Its deep root system gradually breaks up compacted soil and improves drainage in heavy clay over time. As older leaves drop and decompose, they release calcium into the surrounding soil, which benefits nearby brassicas and root vegetables. The aromatic oils camphor and borneol, emitted continuously from the foliage, deter cabbage moths, cabbage loopers, bean beetles, carrot flies, and slugs. Its flowers are among the earliest to open in the season, providing nectar and pollen to bees and other pollinators before most other plants have bloomed. Rosemary grows well alongside brassicas, beans, carrots, and sage. Cucumbers suppress its development and should not be planted in proximity. Waterlogged soil causes irreversible root rot and must be avoided. Mint. Mint is a vigorous perennial native to Europe and Asia, growing naturally in moist environments along stream banks and meadows. Over 600 named varieties exist, including spearmint, peppermint, and apple mint, all sharing the characteristic square stem and intensely aromatic foliage. Mint prefers partial to full sun and consistently moist, fertile soil, requiring watering at least 2 to 3 times per week in dry conditions. It is one of few herbs that maintains strong growth in partial shade. The menthol and menthone compounds in its leaves repel aphids, flea beetles, cabbage moths, whiteflies, ants, and rodents. When it flowers, it attracts parasitic wasps, hoverflies, and predatory beetles, which collectively suppress common garden pest populations. Its dense surface root mat reduces soil erosion and retains moisture in the upper soil layers, and its decomposing biomass raises organic matter content, improving both moisture retention and microbial activity over time. Mint grows well alongside tomatoes, peas, and brassicas. It spreads through underground rhizomes rapidly and will take over an open garden bed within a single growing season. It should be planted in a container sunk into the ground with the rim raised several centimeters above the soil surface to prevent runners from spreading. Thyme. Thyme is a low-growing woody perennial native to the dry, sun-exposed hillsides of the Mediterranean, where it grows wild in thin, rocky soils alongside rosemary and lavender. It requires full sun and very well-drained, low-fertility soil, and once established, it needs watering only every 10 to 14 days. Thyme produces more concentrated aromatic oils in lean, nutrient-poor soil, and fertilizing reduces its potency. The compounds thymol and carvacrol in its oils are documented repellents of cabbage worms, cabbage loopers, whiteflies, and tomato hornworms. Its flowers are among the most visited by honeybees of any herb in the garden, making it a significant contributor to local pollinator populations. When planted as ground cover, thyme suppresses weed germination, reduces soil moisture evaporation, and moderates soil temperature fluctuations through the growing season. It performs well alongside brassicas, tomatoes, strawberries, and eggplant. Fennel releases allelopathic root compounds that inhibit thyme's growth and should not be planted nearby. Lavender. Lavender is a woody perennial shrub native to the dry hillsides of the western Mediterranean, particularly France, Spain, and the Mediterranean islands. It produces tall spikes of purple flowers above silvery gray aromatic foliage and is among the most commercially harvested plants on earth. Lavender requires full sun of at least 6 hours daily and very well drained, alkaline to neutral soil. It is drought tolerant once established and should be watered deeply but infrequently, approximately every 2 weeks in dry conditions. It thrives in low fertility soil and does not require fertilizing. The compounds linalool and linalolyl acetate in its oils repel moths, fleas, mosquitoes, whiteflies, and aphids, creating a continuous aromatic barrier that disrupts the navigation of flying pests across a wide area. Its flowers are among the most productive nectar sources in the temperate garden, drawing honeybees, bumblebees, butterflies, and hoverflies across an extended blooming season. As its woody stems and leaves decompose, they release potassium into the surrounding soil, supporting flowering and fruiting in nearby plants. Its deep root system improves soil structure and drainage in clay-heavy soils over time. Lavender grows well alongside roses, thyme, rosemary, sage, and drought-tolerant vegetables. It cannot tolerate wet or clay soils without amendment, and planting it beside moisture-loving herbs creates a direct conflict in watering requirements that will cause one or both plants to fail. Chamomile. Chamomile is a delicate annual herb native to Europe and Western Asia, producing small daisy-like flowers with white petals surrounding a domed yellow center and a sweet apple-like fragrance. It grows naturally in open fields and disturbed ground and has been used medicinally since ancient Egypt. Chamomile requires full sun to partial shade and moderately moist, well-drained soil, needing watering roughly once or twice a week. It does not require fertilizing in average garden soil. Its flowers attract hoverflies, parasitic wasps, and predatory beetles that feed on aphids, thrips, and caterpillars. As its leaves and stems decompose, they release calcium, potassium, and sulfur into the surrounding soil. The sulfur is particularly effective at suppressing soil-borne fungal pathogens. Chamomile also stimulates essential oil production in nearby herbs, including basil, oregano, and thyme, increasing both their flavor and pest deterrent potency. It self-seeds freely and returns year after year without replanting. Planting it too densely crowds out smaller plants, and spent flowers should be removed regularly to prevent unmanageable self-seeding. Oregano. Oregano is a hardy perennial native to the Mediterranean and Central Asia, growing wild on dry, rocky hillsides across Greece, Turkey, and Italy. It requires full sun and well-drained, moderately fertile soil, and once established, it needs watering only every 7 to 10 days. Like thyme, oregano produces its most potent aromatic oils in lean rather than heavily fertilized soil. The compounds carvacrol and thymol in its oils repel aphids, spider mites, cabbage butterflies, and cucumber beetles. Its flowers draw bees, butterflies, and hoverflies throughout the blooming season. Its dense, sprawling growth suppresses weed germination, and as its leaves decompose, they return potassium and calcium to the topsoil, benefiting surrounding fruiting and root crops. Oregano grows well alongside peppers, tomatoes, squash, and most Mediterranean herbs. Mint competes aggressively for space and resources and should not be planted nearby. Excess nitrogen in the soil promotes rapid leafy growth at the direct expense of the aromatic oils the plant produces. Parsley. Parsley is a biennial herb native to the central Mediterranean, particularly Greece and Lebanon, producing a rosette of bright green, deeply divided leaves in its first year and tall flowering stalks in its second. It requires full sun to partial shade and consistently moist, fertile, well-drained soil. Parsley is a moderate to heavy feeder, responding well to regular applications of nitrogen-rich fertilizer or compost, and it needs watering 2 to 3 times per week in dry conditions. Its deep taproot draws calcium and magnesium from lower soil layers, depositing these minerals into the topsoil as leaves drop and decompose, making them available to shallower rooted neighboring plants. In its second year, when it flowers, parsley attracts parasitic wasps, hoverflies, and taconid flies that prey on aphids, caterpillars, and whiteflies. It grows well alongside tomatoes, asparagus, roses, and corn. Alliums, including onions and garlic, suppress its germination and early growth and should not be planted nearby. Its long taproot does not recover well from rough transplanting, and root disturbance causes significant setbacks to establishment. Sage. Sage is a woody perennial native to the northern Mediterranean coast, producing broad, soft, gray green leaves with an earthy fragrance and tall spikes of blue purple flowers in summer. It requires full sun and well drained, moderately fertile soil, and once established, it needs watering every 7 to 10 days. It performs best in lean conditions and does not respond well to heavy fertilization. As its woody stems and leaves decompose, they release potassium into the surrounding soil, supporting flowering and fruiting in nearby plants. The compounds thujone, camphor, and borneol in its oils repel cabbage moths, cabbage loopers, carrot flies, and black flea beetles. Its flowers produce nectar that is particularly attractive to bumblebees and long-tongued bee species. And because sage blooms later in the season, it fills a gap in the pollination calendar when many other nectar sources have declined. It grows well alongside brassicas, beans, carrots, and rosemary. Cucumbers, onions, and fennel either suppress sage or are suppressed by it and should not be planted in proximity. Dill. Dill is a tall, feathery annual native to southwestern Asia and the Mediterranean, producing delicate thread-like leaves and large flat-topped clusters of tiny yellow flowers on hollow stems reaching over a meter in height. It requires full sun and well-drained, moderately fertile soil, and once established, it needs watering once or twice a week. Its flat flower clusters are accessible to a wide range of beneficial insects including parasitic wasps, lacewings, hoverflies, and ladybirds, all of which prey on aphids, caterpillars, and whiteflies. As its taproot and decomposing foliage break down, they return potassium and trace minerals drawn from lower soil layers back into the topsoil. Dill grows well alongside cabbage, lettuce, onions, and cucumbers. Fennel cross-pollinates with dill and causes both plants to lose their characteristic flavor, and the two should never be planted together. Mature dill produces compounds that suppress tomato plant growth and should be removed or relocated before reaching full maturity if tomatoes are present nearby. Fennel. Fennel is a tall, aromatic perennial native to the Mediterranean coastline, producing feathery foliage and bright yellow flower clusters on hollow stems reaching up to 2 meters. It requires full sun and well-drained, moderately fertile soil, and once established, it needs watering roughly every 7 to 10 days. Its deep taproot, which can extend over a meter into the ground, draws potassium, calcium, and trace minerals from deep soil layers and deposits them at the surface as the plant dies back each season, gradually improving topsoil fertility over time. Its large umbel flowers attract parasitic wasps, hoverflies, soldier beetles, and lacewings that suppress aphids, caterpillars, and whiteflies across a wide radius. Fennel is one of few plants that support swallowtail butterfly caterpillars. However, it releases allelopathic compounds from its roots that actively suppress the growth of tomatoes, peppers, beans, kohlrabi, dill, cilantro, and most other herbs. It should be grown in a container or placed at the far edge of the garden, isolated from all other crops. Chives. Chives are a hardy perennial native to Europe and Asia, producing clumps of thin, hollow, grass-like leaves and round clusters of edible purple flowers in summer. They require full sun to partial shade and consistently moist, well-drained, moderately fertile soil, needing watering 2 to 3 times per week in dry conditions. The sulfur compounds chives release from their roots and foliage repel aphids, Japanese beetles, carrot flies, and spider mites. These same compounds disrupt fungal spore germination in the surrounding soil, measurably reducing black spot disease in nearby roses and apple scab in nearby apple trees. As chive roots decompose, they release sulfur into the soil, improving phosphorus uptake in neighboring plants. Their flowers attract bees and butterflies reliably throughout summer. Chives grow well alongside carrots, tomatoes, roses, and brassicas. They should never be planted near beans or peas, as the sulfur compounds they release inhibit the nitrogen-fixing bacteria on legume roots, reducing the soil-building benefit those plants provide. Lemon balm. Lemon balm is a leafy perennial in the mint family, native to South Central Europe and the Mediterranean, producing broad, heart-shaped serrated leaves with a fresh lemon fragrance derived from the volatile oils citronellol, geraniol, and nerol. It requires full sun to partial shade and consistently moist, well-drained soil, needing watering 2 to 3 times per week. Its vigorous growth produces large amounts of biomass that, when cut back and left on the soil surface, decomposes into a nutrient-rich mulch that raises organic matter content and improves moisture retention and microbial activity in the soil. The citronellol in its oils repels gnats, mosquitoes, and aphids, and its flowers are highly attractive to bees. Beekeepers have used lemon balm for centuries to attract and calm swarms, rubbing it inside hive interiors to encourage new colonies to settle. It grows well alongside squash, melons, tomatoes, and most flowering herbs. Like mint, it spreads aggressively through self-seeding, and flowers must be deadheaded before setting seed to prevent it from overtaking surrounding plants. Cilantro. Cilantro is a fast-growing annual native to a region spanning southern Europe, North Africa, and southwestern Asia, producing delicate, deeply lobed lower leaves used fresh in cooking and small lacy upper leaves as it approaches flowering. It requires full sun to partial shade and consistently moist, well-drained soil, needing watering 2 to 3 times per week. Cilantro is a documented phosphorus accumulator, drawing the mineral from deeper soil layers through its roots and releasing it into the topsoil as the plant decomposes, where it becomes available to surrounding plants. Its umbel flower clusters attract parasitic wasps, hoverflies, and taconide flies that prey on aphids, caterpillars, and whiteflies. It grows well alongside spinach, tomatoes, peppers, and most leafy greens. In warm conditions, cilantro bolts rapidly, switching from leaf to seed production within days of temperatures rising. Planting in afternoon shade in warm climates and sowing in successive small batches every 2 to 3 weeks extends the supply through the season. Fennel inhibits its development and should not be planted nearby.